What is up, and welcome back to the Vegas Career. And we are jumping straight into the transfer saga today. Last episode, I asked, should we sign Kim Dae-won or Sungmin Kyu, or possibly both, and just absolutely schlap teams and switch to a 4-2-4 and just create the most absurd MLS team anyone's ever seen. And as much fun as that would be, and it would be a riot, I admit that would be a lot of fun, we are trying to keep some semblance of realism with this series, and signing really either one of those two players, it's a bit overkill. It's so unnecessary, really. With who we already have in the team, it just does not make sense, and it is not realistic at all whatsoever for MLS. I really want to try these players at some point, maybe in another series down the line, especially Sungmin Kyu with his strength and heading ability. And he has, 90 jumping? Just seems absolutely absurd. Just a crazy player. But for this series, I just can't justify signing either one of them. And speaking of keeping some sort of realism in this series, here's something I don't think I've ever shown you guys before. And this is the spreadsheet that I use when I'm keeping track of our wages and the roster size and all of those things. And you can see down here, our wage hit is $89,100. And that is just for the senior team. Obviously, that does not include designated players. They're up here. The designated players are listed in this roster just so I can have them count against the roster size, but not their wages. So the DPs don't count for their wages in the salary cap, nor do the Youth Academy players that I have in the team currently either. Once Youth Academy players sign a new contract, they will become full members of the first team, and then their wages will hit against the salary cap. But for right now, our salary cap hit is $89,100. I typically have a salary cap limit of $100,000. I think that's too much. We should not, at this point in the season, given where we're at as well in the standings and how good we are, we should not have the freedom to sign superstar Koreans and create an absolute juggernaut in the league. It should not be feasible at this point. So I think for next season, I'm going to reduce the salary cap limit to, I was going to say 80, maybe 80. I think we'll start with 85,000. We'll go 85,000, and that's going to force us to actually have to think about how we're building our roster. We'll have some freedom to straight away for next season as Nico Ladero is going to be retiring, so that's $8K off our books right there, as well as Theodore Wagner, who hasn't played this year because he's dropped off significantly. He's $3,500 per week, so we will get a little bit of flexibility to start with, but we will end up having to actually think about and plan out how we're building this roster rather than just throwing money at problems when we see them. I've also just seen that Christian Kuyame is being rumored with a move to Real Madrid. That's terrifying. I will not sell him in this transfer window under any circumstances, but if he gets a big money offer from one of those types of teams in the offseason, I'm not sure we're going to be able to keep him because I'm going to have to re-sign him in the offseason. And if he has options elsewhere like Real Madrid, I don't think there's a chance in hell we get to keep him. We have an offer in now for Brian Bishop from Portland. And I'll be honest, Brian Bishop is an absolute trash can of a fullback. I can't stand this dude, but he is versatile and he's on cheap wages. But I'll be honest, I'm happy to get him out of the team, and it makes me even happier to send him to Portland. Any money we get out of them is an absolute steal either way. So they're offering $1 million. I'm going to try to squeeze a little bit more money out of them just because I can, but I will probably be making this deal. So here's something I found a little interesting. Our only high importance objective this year is to get 10 wins in home matches. You'd think with the way we play and how good we are, shouldn't be a problem. We've only won 6 home games this year. We've actually been slightly tragic at home. We have so many draws, plus the one loss came at home as well. We just haven't been good playing at home this year. Don't know what the problem is, but we only have 5 home games left this season, and we have to win 4 of them. That's slightly worrying. We start off today on the road, where we get a 2-1 victory. Road games are not a problem for us. We win every game on the road. It's just we can't win games at home for some reason. Tufan and Kuyame getting the goals in this one. The bigger worry is we were up 2-0. They got a red card, and we still allowed a goal. That's not really good enough, is it? I would expect more from this team. We now have an offer in for Leon Evans. He was the U.S. Open Cup hero last year. He bagged 4 against, I think it was against Orlando in the semifinal or something crazy. Had just a ridiculous game. But he only has 1 appearance this season. Plus, I think next year I'm looking at changing the formation, and I don't think we're going to be playing with a center attacking mid. And even if we were, I just don't particularly like him that much. So I'm okay to let him walk. 830K is the offer from Austin. We'll see if we can get a little bit more than that, but I think this is another deal we're going to go forward with. We come back home, and would you look at that? We won a game against a team that's currently in a playoff position in NYCFC. Granted, they're in 7th place in the East, but they are currently a playoff team. And we won. Atencio and Johnston getting the goals in this one. The whole team played really, really well, with the exception of Ozan Tufan, who was subbed off at right before halftime, actually. He had a really stinky game. But otherwise, I'm really happy with that. So we have a bit of a dilemma here with Brian Thompson. He is kind of our stud that has come out of the youth academy. Really our only one so far in this career. But he plays center attacking mid. He's made a couple of appearances there so far this season. 8 of them, to be exact. 6 in the league, where he's played a 7.4. So he's been okay. I say he's been okay. His rating says he's been really good. When I've used him, he hasn't really impressed me that much. But as I said, I am looking at switching the formation next year and playing without a center attacking mid, which leaves him without a position. But I was looking at his attributes. Does he have a playstyle plus? Is that a gold playstyle plus attribute? That's impressive. I didn't know that he had that. But I was looking at his attributes, and 51 finishing, 60 ball control. I just don't feel like he can play in the attacking third consistently. I just don't know how effective he's really going to be there, getting the bulk of the minutes. However, with 68 strength, I mean, look at him. He looks like Brian Urlacher. He has no neck. This dude is an absolute unit. And maybe we can try him as a box-to-box midfielder. He is going to have to work on that dribbling and ball control. But I think with the right training, he could actually be really, really good for us. Something I did notice as I'm looking at training him on box-to-box midfielder, he actually has a high defensive work rate and a medium attacking work rate right now. Just something, nothing really about him says he's a center attacking mid. And that's kind of where I'm losing faith in this. So I am going to switch him to center mid. I've already done that, actually. And now we are going to train him as a box-to-box mid. I really think this is a spot where he could actually flourish. We are on deadline day now, and we have an offer for Ozan Tufan, the club captain, the first designated player in club history. And I'm not really interested in selling him. You see, there's been plenty of interest in him this year. Fenner actually snuck in and paid his release clause that I didn't even know he had. But we were able to snuff that out before that got too far. So he's staying at the club. I think he's happy here, and I don't really have any interest in selling him at all. I want him to become a club legend. Our captain, the first designated player in club history, we can't sell him. So the transfer window is closed. We ended up finalizing the deals for Leon Evans to Austin for $950K, Brian Bishop to Portland for $1.15 million. Not bad, about $2 million brought in from them. But even more importantly, as we have a look at the roster and the wages, we cleared about $6,000 in the weekly budget. So we're down to $83,600. I think we were at $89,100 when we started. Not bad. Not bad at all. We're going to set the cap to 85 grand next year. So we're actually looking pretty good now. Okay, so you may notice I'm now wearing a different shirt. And that is because I'm now editing this video the next day. And I realized that I didn't record the gameplay from that last clip you just saw till the end of the recording. I left it on the spreadsheet the whole time. I played 2 games. We finished the regular season. And you're going to see none of it. So we'll go through it. We'll recap it just quickly. Unfortunately, there is going to be no gameplay in this video. I'm so sorry about that. I'm fuming because There were some crazy things that happened during the games, and there was something that happened after the regular season concluded that I still can't quite wrap my head around. So we picked this thing up at the beginning of September. We played this game against Minnesota. We got a red card in the 8th minute. Tristan Blackman got sent off for a standing challenge that never should have been a red card. In the 8th minute, I was fuming. But we went on to beat them 4-0 on the road because Minnesota is just not that good. Kind of the case of the whole Western Conference. We ended up not losing a game this month. We simmed the rest of the games, beat San Jose 2-1 for the second Derby win of the season. We beat LA Galaxy 3-1, LAFC 2-0, and Sporting Kansas City 2-1. We then moved into the month of October, last 3 games of the season, and by the time we played San Jose again, we had already wrapped up the Supporter Shield. Yes, we did win the Supporter Shield. We'll get to that in a minute. But we played this game against San Jose. I decided, because we had nothing left to play for, that we were going to rotate the team a little bit. We instantly went down 2-0, had to bring on Kuyame and Tufan, went on to win the game 3-2. We simmed the last 2 games. We lost to Seattle 2-1, and then we beat Portland to finish the season 3-0. So here are the final standings from the regular season. We finish on 78 points, 14 points clear of second place Dallas, who kind of came out of nowhere towards the end of the season to get up into second place. Well, I say that they were clear of Minnesota by 8, so maybe I just didn't notice them sitting there. They actually had a pretty decent season. Really strong second half for them, but we didn't actually play them in the second half of the season. Minnesota still finished 3rd. We beat them with 10 men on the road. They're just not very good. LAFC, after yo-yoing up and down from 2nd to 8th, end up finishing right in the middle in 4th. And then the rest of the playoff teams, St. Louis, Seattle, and Portland in the Western Conference. In the East, it's Messi and Miami taking the top spot with 69 points. Atlanta finishing 5 points behind them. And Philadelphia had a god-awful second half of the season. Ended up 10 points behind Miami in the East. They were in first place at one point midway through the season and just fell off. I'm not really actually sure what happened to them. Toronto, Orlando, Cincinnati, and NYCFC round out the teams in the East going into the playoffs. Now, you just saw how dominant we were in the Western Conference. I can't remember the last time we fell out of first place in the conference, and we won the Supporter Shield by 9 points over Atlanta. And despite this, immediately following our final match of the regular season, we had an email saying we have a performance review meeting scheduled. They are not happy with our efforts in achieving positive outcomes in relation to the goals we agreed upon for this season. I might get fired. Despite everything you just saw, we might actually get fired. We'll take a look at the objectives because there's only one that we are not going to complete this season, and it's the youth development one. And the only reason we're not going to complete this is because I don't know which one of those positions I haven't signed yet. Because there's no list. If there was one that said, you got this one, you got this one, you got this one, you're missing this one, wouldn't be a problem. I don't know which one I'm missing. And I don't have enough time to fix it now. So I honestly can't really think that that's my fault. For brand exposure, we got the 10 wins at home. I think we ended up winning every home game the rest of the season, so we finished with 11. And we signed the player from Europe at the beginning of the season. For financial, this one, we still have one more season to complete. I will say, barring the sale of Christian Kuyame, maybe? I don't know if we're actually going to be able to complete that. And then for domestic success, we made the playoffs and we made the quarterfinal of the US Open Cup, so check marks all the way around on that one. And it's just the youth development. And it's not my fault. They won't tell me which position I still need. And at the time that they sent that email saying I had a performance review, my manager rating had dropped to like 49, which I don't know how that is. I simmed up to our first playoff game after that. It's now back up to 89. So I'm thinking that somehow the objectives get checked off on different days, and maybe the youth development one got checked off first, which dropped my performance rating, and then all the other ones got marked as completed and it went back up. I'm not sure. I haven't heard back about the performance review meeting. I haven't heard if I'm going to keep my job or not, but I will tell you this. If Vegas fires me, especially if they fire me before we're able to win the MLS Cup, because I really think we're going to win it this year. If they fire me, I will take another job in MLS, and I will make it my mission to destroy Vegas. I will dismantle them and tear them apart like you have never seen before. It's going to be just vengeance. I'm still pissed. I'm still heated about this, and it's 24 hours later. Anyway, here is what happened in the first round of the playoffs. Obviously, we had a first round bye as well as Miami in the East. So in the West, LAFC beat St. Louis 2-0. Minnesota beat Seattle 2-1. And Dallas beat Portland 3-0. In the East, Orlando went into Toronto, the only road team to win in the first round, and they won 3-2. Atlanta beat NYCFC 4-2. And Philadelphia beat Cincinnati 2-1. And that sets up these matchups in the conference semifinals. In the East, it's Inter Miami versus Orlando, a little Florida derby going on there, and then Atlanta and Philadelphia. In the West, we have our old rivals, LAFC once again, and Dallas will take on Minnesota. So once again, I apologize for screwing that up. It was such a good episode. I was really looking forward to putting it out, but I dropped the ball. You know, you live and you learn. I'll make sure I don't make that mistake again. But that is where we're going to wrap this one up. We're coming back next time for the playoffs. We're going against LAFC again. I'm glad I didn't play them in the last episode because I almost did. Instead, I skipped over that and played Minnesota. So we start off with LAFC. We'll see if we, A, have a job long enough to win a title, and B, if we have a job once we're done. So that is it for this one. If you did enjoy it, make sure to let me know by leaving a like below. Subscribe if you're new. And I will see you when we come back for some more Vegas FC career. Maybe. See ya.